What's up, everyone? All right, Monday morning, back in the saddle here. Now, this morning, my watch list was kind of funny because the only stocks that really looked even remotely interesting were continuation setups. They were stocks that were strong on Friday and were kind of continuing that momentum here into Monday. Of those two, TRNX and CLVS, both of them I traded and we'll talk about during the recap. TRNX is up 50% right now. CLVS is actually down 5%. So we didn't see predictable follow through on CLVS, which surprised me. And on TRNX, CLVS, and TRNX, the follow through that we got has come really kind of later in the morning, even now, 10:30, 11. And in the first hour, it was a little choppy, which is kind of disappointing because I was hoping to, hit some great trades right out of the gates and then, be done for the day. But I didn't quite get that today. So we'll break down the trades from this morning. But one of the things I want to touch on before we get into that, and I'm going to talk about it in some upcoming videos, but I want to talk a little bit about it, setting expectations, because I think that on the one hand, setting expectations is great. You set standards for yourself in terms of performance, profit goals, and everything else. But on the other hand, for instance, I had an expectation that October, November, and December would be my 3 best months of the year. That expectation was based on historical data that typically these are my 3 best months of the year, January being the 4th, so those 4 going into 2020. That has not been the case so far in October, where I didn't trade particularly well and I lost money, in part because I was swinging for home runs that I was expecting to hit, but just weren't there. And then so far in November, we're only, we're a third of the way in and we haven't seen a whole lot of momentum yet this month. So I've been a little disappointed and feeling a little kind of, I'm coming up short on my goals. Whereas in August, my expectation was if I even make $10,000, it'll be a fantastic month. And I made $42,000. So I had almost no expectations. My expectation was that it would be a terrible month. And then when I finished up 42 grand, I was like, wow, that's awesome. And it's kind of funny because if I was up 42,000 in October, November, and December, I'd be kind of like, that's actually below my average for these months. So it's funny how setting expectations can really kind of impact not only your kind of where you stand from an emotional perspective each morning, but also the way you trade your account. When I'm trading expecting home runs, I start swinging for home runs, being more aggressive. When I'm trading expecting base hits, I'm going for more base hits. And then, if the market is friendly and it's really strong, I just happen to do better. Today, I was focused on base hits. Today, I followed my rules and I feel good about that. I didn't swing for any home runs, but there also weren't any home runs to be had, and even the base hits today were pretty tricky. So we're gonna break it down in the recap, and as always, if you have questions and comments, make sure you leave them below. All right, everyone, so we're gonna break down the trades from this morning, Monday morning here, back in the saddle after a little bit of a long weekend in California. So leading gappers this morning, I did something a little different today, which was I sorted by volume. And that was because the leading gappers based on percentage gap, which is what I typically use, really weren't that great. If I go to 9:15 a.m., CUI, 93 cents. DARE is too cheap. CARB, too expensive. This one, not enough volume, no volume. Float's too high. This is an ETF. So right away, I was kind of feeling like, I don't really know if I see anything that looks great. So I was like, all right, let me try sorting by volume instead. When I sorted by volume, I was able to see a little bit of a better picture of what was moving. And I definitely noticed that some of these ETFs were moving quite a bit. So that made me curious about what was going on with the overall market. Popped up the overall market, saw that we were gapping down. But of course, it's, the market's been pretty hot the last couple of weeks here. Interestingly, I often do a little better when the market is weak. But in any case, so I saw TRNX at $1.93. And I pulled that one up. And this one, I was like, okay, we've got a pre-market high here of 218, a little pullback, so maybe over 218, but it's a little on the cheap side. Not really sure if it's worth trading. Going further down the list, SPWR, wasn't too interested in that. CLVS is one that came to my attention as it had made a big move on Friday. So this was a really nice breakout trade on Friday that you guys got from 440 all the way up to 620. So, 40% breakout, which is awesome. Pull back, squeeze up, pull back, squeeze up. Nice flat top breakout here. Continuation all the way through about 1 o'clock. Even through the lunch hour, it was strong. So that one I watched for continuation. This was the most difficult one for me, and it was the first one that I traded today. So on this one, my very first trade on it was right here on this 1 minute pullback at 6:15. Did a 1 minute pullback at 6:15. I got in at right around 6:12 for the first 1 minute candle to make a new high, which occurred right here inside this red candle. It squeezed up to a high of 619 and then flushed down to 585. So I took my first loss there. I then got back in on a micro pullback, which is one of the riskier setups right here at 625, but ended up working as it squeezed up to 635. So I had a loser and then I had a winner. And then I had a second loss right here where I got in for the break over 630. I thought this was a 1 minute micro pullback. It didn't break over 630. And then as it dropped down here, I stopped out. So that was frustrating. And then it started to set up an ABCD pattern and then it failed. Now over here, we had a pretty clean bear flag, which I considered trading. I actually have, sorry, I'll put up my P&L for you guys. I actually have shares available to borrow of this, but I didn't trade it to the short side here. I don't know. I thought I would be chasing the move. So I was like, nah, I should leave that alone. So a loser, a winner, a loser, and then this sells off. So down $728 on this, most of which came in this candle right here. Tried to dig myself out of the hole here, which I did a little bit, and then I went back down to my max loss, or well, my lowest point on this stock. So kind of a bummer that I missed the momentum on Friday, and today, as a continuation setup, it wasn't clean. 1 minute pullback here, here, and here all gave big false breakouts, whereas this tiny micro pullback was the only one that worked. So, and in terms of the VWAP, this morning it breaks above the VWAP, then it breaks below it, then it breaks back above it, then it taps it, then it comes back up here, then it breaks below it, breaks above it, flushes down. So on this one, if I look at the 10-second chart, which is something that you guys would need e-signal for, because it's not a standard time setting on most platforms. On this zoomed in, you can kind of see what we have going on here, where we have this kind of spike out of the gates, this drop down, this rip up, looks like it's gonna go, and then it drops down, then it rips back up, and then notice this consolidation right here and right here, right above the VWAP. Holding that level. So new entry could be 607 or so for the break of 607 with a stop right under $6. So right around here. It then squeezes all the way up to 624, and this is where I got in. So remember on the 1 minute chart, it was a little hard to see, but on the 10-second chart, it becomes a little bit more clear. And then we had another micro pullback right here. I don't remember if I traded this one or not, but that one failed. And then this is where I got back in here, and that failed. And then you can see it dropped to VWAP, came up, dropped down to VWAP, came up, consolidating right in this area, kind of right, tried to break over it, couldn't do it, and this would have been a good spot to go short right in here as it flushed and broke this level. So, this happens to be a stock where on the 1 minute, some of these entries are a little harder to see. Probably this one is a little harder and this one is a little harder, but these ones to the short side are a little easier, and that just happens to be because it was stronger to the short side. So let me delete these trend lines. So CLVS was frustrating and got me good, just considering I was only trading with 2,000 shares. So I got my full 720 $28 loss with 2,000 share positions. So I'm disappointed with that, but it is what it is. So after the last trade here, I had one trick, because I had a winner, and then I had a winner right here, and then a loser right here. So then I got in GALT, G-A-L-T, hits the high day momentum scanner. It's spiking up 10%, has news that broke right at 946, and that's what created this volume spike. I jumped in this as it pulled back right here. It did a little 1 minute, kind of like micro pullback right around 29 and 30, and then it pops up to a high of 40. It doesn't hold that level. I got back out, break even. Well, $8.50 loss, but I'm counting it as a loss. And today I followed my rules, 3 consecutive losers, and I'm done. Reminding myself that on Thursday, or no, it was on Wednesday, that after having 3 consecutive losses and then taking a 4th trade and losing a 4th time, I felt much more angry having broken my rules than I felt just sort of sitting on the sidelines missing some opportunities because I was benched. So today I'm benched. And that's fine. I'm okay with that, and I'm going to follow that rule. Last trade, this is the 3rd strike trade, TRNX. And this actually, was a real bummer because it wasn't, well, now it's back up kind of to where I got in. So this one, I had on watch pre-market. I didn't trade it out of the gates. It then squeezes up here, does this pullback right here, and I jumped in at 43. Now the reason I jumped in at 43 was I pulled up TRNX, and on the bid, right here on the bid, I saw all of a sudden a 20,000 share buyer pop up at 242. And when I saw that, I thought, okay, we've got a big bid. I bet this thing is going to rip right over 250. Got in at 43, looked for that quick rip over 250. I hit 245, and then it dropped back down, and I stopped out for a $141 loss, and that was my 3rd strike. So I do 3 consecutive losses. I don't do 3 total losses. It's not uncommon to have, 2 losses, 3 winners, 2 more losses, 3 or 4 more winners. I mean, that's all fine. That's okay. But if I have 3 back-to-back red trades, that's the time to step back and say, hey, you know what? Something today is not working quite right. You're not dialed in, or the market's a little cold, it's a little softer. It's better to sit on the sidelines. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Yeah, TRNX right now over 240 looks good, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to trade it. I'm not below my max loss. I could take a trade, but I'm going to respect the rule of 3 strikes, you're out, and leave it alone. And if it ends up that I miss something, I'll miss something. But what won't happen is I won't finish the day feeling worse about myself because I, broke a rule. See that big bid there at 30, how it was all stacked up at 32? That to me for a second looked bullish. And into that kind of bullish, stack of orders, it's not really responding. So I think that, we just continue to be in a market that's very volatile. This year has been just very interesting in terms of high volatility in the overall market and some unpredictability in the small cap market. But that's the way it goes sometimes. So I'm not going to stress about it too much. Just live to trade another day. I don't like to have, red days, obviously, but keeping them as small as possible is what is important. And then when we do start to see some opportunities open up, or when I happen to be here when they are opening up, like CLVS, I'll be able to capitalize. All right, so that's it for me, and I'll see you guys first thing tomorrow morning. All right, see you guys in the morning. Hey, did you know that I go live every single morning between 9 and 9:15 to stream my pre-market watch list? Subscribe to the channel, press the bell for the alert, and you'll get the notification.